That's super strange. Hello. What time is it? Where are we? What's going on? Also, my comments are sort of strange and cut off. The private ones aren't, but I can't see all of those. This will be fun reading these. Weird. Hi, everyone. I'm just problem solving here. Hey, Beth Carducci. It is 7:02 p.m. on the East Coast, July 12th. It is the Tuesday after the conference. For those of you that went, I hope you are rested and got some sleep. Clearly, I have. I don't know if there's a problem with the sound. I think I sound great, but I guess I would ask those in the stream if they're having trouble with the sound. Hey, Valencia. Hey, Dave. Good to see you all. Yeah, I don't know why I'm having issues with the comment thread. I may have to sign on and sign back in to see if that clears it up. I'm not sure. Thank you, Skyla. I think the sound is good. You had CrabCon. That's cool. Amy said we can hear you. Hey, Amy. Justin Hughes in the house. So great to meet you in person. And great talk on Sunday. I actually learned a ton. So that was awesome. Hey, Michelle. Kathy H. There's Alexandra representing. Got to spend lots of quality time with Alex. There's my mom. Hi, Mom. And coming out of the gate hard with questions. I like it. We're going to give it 30 more seconds, and then we'll dive right in. Hey, Caitlin. Thank you for the question. Mike Sizemore. Hey, everyone. Please, if you're coming in, get settled. Grab a chair. Grab some snacks. We are fresh off the IOCDF conference. As you can see, I'm tired because I haven't shaved and really changed my shirt ever. Justine, I got to meet so many great people. Justine is one of them. She's an IOCDF advocate and all around a dope person, as is Alex and everyone in here. If you weren't at the conference, I'm so glad you're here tonight so we can continue the discussion. If you were at the conference and you have the done deal blues, which happens after the conference, you are in the right place because we are here to support and talk and just give lots of love. Hi, Ann. It's good to see you. All right. So with that, we're 2 minutes after the hour, or 2 minutes since we started live. So let's get rolling, and hopefully I can read all the comments because they're a little strange. Let me get through some quick housekeeping, and then we can dive in to answering some questions, some conference conversation, and all the good things. So my name is Ethan Smith. I'm a national advocate for the International OCD Foundation, which, as I always say, means I have OCD and like to talk about it a lot. This community conversation is intended to serve as educational content. It is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline and should not be used if you are in distress or feel unsafe. If you're in a crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room, call 911, or call the suicide prevention hotline at 800-273-8255. Also, we always want to create as safe a space as possible, as this is being broadcast and recorded on many social media channels. It is public, so keep that in mind as you leave comments. But at the end of the day, we try to create as safe a space as possible within this, as I am here to support you, and you're here to support me. We are here to support one another. So just keep that in mind as you comment, but please be respectful and kind to all comments. With that, here we are. It's Tuesday night, as I said. How is everyone doing? Why don't you fill me in before we jump into questions? Lots of things to talk about today. If you were at the conference, Grace. Hey, Grace, loved meeting you at the conference. And yeah, let me know if you were at the conference, favorite parts, what you loved, all the things. Fill me in on how everyone's doing. If you weren't at the conference, I'm so glad you're here. This is the next best thing. And look forward to hearing how you're doing. So fill me in. How has everyone's week been? I know it's been maybe a couple weeks because last week we didn't do any lives because of the conference. Hi, Kim Vicente. It's good to see you. And thank you so much. You do too. I love the singing. Awesome. So sad the conference is over. OCD is still a shit show that runs my life. That is a true story. OCD can be a awful shit show. And I'm sorry that it runs your life. Hopefully we can continue to have conversations and help that, because there's definitely help and hope. So yeah, I'll jump into things, but and get into questions. But I'd love to hear how everybody's conference experience was. Those of you that went, missed you too, Michelle. I'll just give you a quick overview. Hi, Sarah. The conference was fantastic. I think we had over 1,503, in fact, attend live and in person. That was a 50% mix of clinicians and as well as lived experience and as well as yeah, I don't know why it's cutting out the comments. I don't like this because I can't read everyone's comments, which is problematic. Give me a second. I apologize. Let me see if this fixes it. It doesn't. Okay. Well, we'll see how we do, and I might need to sign off and sign back on. Yes, and there's the online conference in November. Thank you, Mike. So if you weren't able to come, I know it was expensive. Travel was expensive, and all of that. So if you weren't able to come, we have the online virtual conference in November, and we will all be there as well. And it'll be just as amazing as they have been the last few years. The conference was excellent. Like I said, we have over 1,500 people attend. The panels were great. Meeting everybody, seeing everybody in person was awesome. I hopefully everybody had a great time. I'd love to know if you had a great time. Yeah, I'd love to know if you had a great time and what you loved about it, what you didn't love. Sean Shinnick is in the house. Glad Justin enjoyed the conference. That's awesome. So thank you. Let's see what else. The conference was a beautiful thing. If you were there, I'm sure you experienced it or may have experienced for the first time. Lots of community. Yep, over 1,500 attendance, which was awesome. You know, it's just wonderful to be around community and be around and other individuals as well as access researchers, clinicians, experts. You know, no one's off limits at the IOCDF conference. So lots of amazing resources and access to care and treatment and just learning lots and lots as much as we can. So it was a wonderful time. The panels were excellent, and I just love seeing all the people in person and meeting so many of you that we've been only virtually connecting, but now I can put some real faces to some names. Yes, Katie and I, thank you, Beth. Katie and I did at karaoke, did a OCD rendition of Suddenly Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors. That was her idea. I gave her 100% credit, unless you loved it. And then it was, we both thought of it at the same time. Hi, Stacy Rosenthal Young. All right, so good to see all you. Skyla, I don't, oh, it looks like it's cutting off Facebook questions, actually. All the other questions seem to be okay, but Facebook questions that are kind of long, it seems to be cutting them off. All right, George, I'm going to hold you to that. A mini conference in Asia would be amazing, and I know there's so few resources. We do have partners in China, so we should definitely talk about that. Hi, Nikki Bradley in Dublin. OCD Suddenly Seymour. It is on Katie's Instagram. I don't know if she posted it as a post or a story, but we can definitely load it back up there. It was a wonderful embarrassment, but we had a good time, and I think people enjoyed it. So with that in mind, like I said, tell me how you're doing. Let's go ahead and load up the questions. After the conference, for those of you that went, I know it can feel like, what now? But you know what? It's great because we have these live streams and ways to interact and communicate that we didn't necessarily have a couple years ago, right? After the conference, it just got real quiet. And hi, Rachel Benny. So it's nice to be able to see all of you and continue the conversation just 2 days later. So let's start getting to some questions. And if y'all want to hear some stories from the conference, I'm happy to talk. But as always, I love to jump into questions. Oh, Katie with the link to Katie quickly with the link to the Suddenly Seymour rendition that we did. Yep. Hi, Michael. I was thinking of you when I was thinking about feeling down. I'm glad you're here, Mike. It was good to give you a hug. I know it was short and sweet. But it was so great to see you. So let's get into some questions. I know you guys have questions or thoughts or suggestions, so please feel free to leave them in the comment threads. Also had some questions submitted previously, so let's just dive in. I'm going to start with Diana's question at 7:04 p.m. Oh, just kidding. I wasn't kidding. I will get to your question. But I see Caitlin's question at 7:03 p.m. How do you deal with OCD when you have ordering and arranging and everything you look at triggers you to check? Yeah, I mean, Caitlin, thank you for coming back. I sound like a broken record, but treatment and therapy, exposure response prevention, cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, sort of all the modalities of treatment, accessing a clinician. It's all about dealing with the uncertainty and sitting with the unknown and being willing to feel, as Katie says, to stick with the ick. And that goes for anybody's symptoms or subtypes. It doesn't matter what they are, from ordering and arranging to sexual, violent, intrusive harm thoughts to moral scrupulosity, religious scrupulosity. They're all, dealt with in the same type of treatment, which is the gold standard, exposure response prevention. And there are other modalities of treatment too that are wonderful in conjunction with that. So if you've done ERP before and you don't feel it worked for you, sometimes there are things we can do to reframe how you look at it. And sometimes just emotional dysregulation plays a huge role in not being able to engage in ERP. I know that was for me. So DBT and ACT were really good ways that helped me properly engage in ERP so I could get better. So I don't know that I have any specific advice for you, Caitlin. It would, because really, I'm not a clinician. I would just tell you that when it comes to those things, and you're approaching something where you feel like it's out of place or you get that uneasy feeling, it's all about being willing to sit with that uneasy feeling. I don't know with you if it's just a feeling, a just right feeling, or there's some magical thinking associated when something's not ordered or arranged. But by magical thinking, I mean, is something bad going to happen, or is it just anxiety that you feel? But ultimately, are you willing to sit with the discomfort and let it wash over you and leave it alone, knowing that, you're spending all your time ordering and arranging rather than leaning toward your values? And again, that's a very hard thing to do, which is why treatment and support can be so key and obviously extremely helpful in moving in that direction. So, Caitlin, keep asking questions for sure. But that's the short answer. My goal today is to get to everybody's questions. So I'm very excited about this. Diana at 7:04 p.m. said, possible comments on people that mock or make fun of OCD. Want to make sure I'm addressing it appropriately. Great question, Diana. So I have a cardinal rule, which is education through compassion. So compassionate education. I know it can be difficult to hear people use OCD in a joking way or in an offensive way, and most of the time, almost all the time, it's just ignorance. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean they genuinely don't know what OCD is. They've seen it on the media. They've heard people say, I'm so OCD, or you're being OCD by keeping your desk neat or whatever. And so people just assume that's what it is. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a plane and, the conversation has come up, or I've heard somebody say it to me. And I always find that the simple question is, well, do you actually know what OCD is? I have OCD. And, if you're open to learning, I'd love to tell you a little bit about what it actually is. And 9 times out of 10, they're actually really interested. And then once you explain to them a little bit about what it is, and I don't normally go into like the exact definitions of obsessions and compulsions. I more speak to my own experiences, which is just something I'm comfortable doing. That doesn't mean that you have to do it. Generally, I don't know why my face is so itchy right now. Generally, their response is, I have been doing something similar, or they'll tell me about a friend or a family member, sibling, daughter, parent, that experiences something similar, or they're just very interested to know. And thank you for letting me know. I had no idea it was that. So I generally move through that through a compassionate education. And I'll tell that to anyone. I've stood by that sort of strategy since the beginning, no matter how offensive or upsetting it is. Very few people are joking about OCD to actually be mean. You have the occasional people online and, shock jocks and comics and people on Twitter that are, or coaches or whatever, that are genuinely just trying to be an ass. But I would say those are few and far between, though they do exist. And most people genuinely just don't understand. And once you educate them as to what it is, they're very open to learning and wanting to know more. So, compassionate education, start with, I heard you say you're so OCD. I'd be curious what that means for you, because I can tell you what that means for me. I'm generally also not I don't like confrontation. You know, if I'm in line at a grocery store, you know, and somebody behind me says something, I'm not looking to educate them. You know, everybody's in a rush. But if you're in a situation with a family member or a friend, or like I said, you're on an airplane for 2 or 3 hours and you strike up a conversation in situations like that. But I would never tell anybody not to, you know, respond. If you feel so inclined or encouraged, again, just compassionate education. Try not to be overly reactive. I know that hearing people talk about it in a joking way can be really stigmatizing, and I definitely understand that and can definitely make you angry. But take a breath and know that, you know, each person that you tell is one more person that's educated and can actually stop using OCD as an adjective and stop using it to describe the way they may a behavior they may do, or a friend's behavior or something, and one more person that is out in the world actually knowing what it is. So that's my approach to it, Diana. I hope that was helpful. I'm just scrolling down now, going back to glad to hear your weekend is good, LinkedIn user. Okay. Couldn't make it to see. Okay, Amy wrote, couldn't make it to CO. Looking forward to the virtual one in November. I think I can read the comments, Skylar. It's cutting off the last words for some reason. But Alexandra at 7:08 p.m. wrote, I think my favorite part was meeting and spending time with my fellow advocates. Absolutely. And it was great spending time with you. Especially you and Power Wifey. I like it. I think Katie will appreciate Power Wifey. And and Skyla, we got to meet Skyla behind the scenes. Skyla and her amazing mother were there. Skyla has been just an incredible asset to the community and the IOCDF. So it was awesome getting to meet her in person. She and the whole IOCDF did an incredible job putting on this event. So congrats to them. Let's see. Oops. I'm having all kinds of weird technical glitches today. I apologize. Katie O'Dunn, Power Wifey. Yep, that's right. Grace wrote, this is getting cut off quite a bit. I don't know if I can bring up the idea to the DEIAC, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Action Council. I'm South Korean, live in the States now, but I've heard there aren't too many resources there. Actually, it's great to know, Grace, your exact ethnicity, because I genuinely didn't know. But we can absolutely bring it up. You know, we're constantly trying to grow partnerships and strategic partnerships and relationships in you know, every country. We are the International OCD Foundation. So you can actually go on the IOCDF website and look up our global partners. But I think South Korea is an amazing idea, something we should most definitely add to the list. And I look forward to collaborating with you on that. And I also love seeing you, Grace. It was awesome meeting you. I think you're a badass, as everyone was there. And I'm just so proud of everyone. So if you weren't there, please do not feel bad or upset, or, you know, we are here weekly talking, and we have amazing programming coming up. So, you know, we want to meet everyone where they are. And so that is just one way. Also, by the way, if you were at the conference, I saw so many people sharing and telling their stories. And I always talk about, you know, advocacy and what that means. And always at its essence, it boils down to sharing your story. One person sharing their story with another person, their experiences with another person. There's nothing more powerful than that. I know we all look at other advocates and they're on TV or they're doing live streams, and it feels like, oh, that's what advocacy is. But just like I always tell y'all, when you're commenting, you know, in the comment thread, just by sharing about yourself, you're advocating. And it was so awesome to see individuals, no matter how badly they were struggling, just telling their stories to other people and seeing other people react and respond and be compassionate toward one another. It was really awesome to see in person. It had been so long. I guess 2019 was the last time, 2018, 2019. So it was really great seeing that in person and seeing people in action and just the passion around advocacy. So we have so many exciting things coming up, and I can't wait to keep you all involved and excited. In fact, Skyla, if you don't, or we haven't talked about it, if you're interested in being an advocate, if you're interested in advocating with the IOCDF, we have a link online that you can go to at the IOCDF website and learn how to become an advocate, how to participate. And we'd love to have you and meet you wherever you are. So Caitlin at 7:12 p.m. says, I have been in treatment and my clinic unfortunately is refusing to give me further treatment. Caitlin, question for you. So was the treatment exposure and response prevention, or was it some other kind of treatment? Please feel free to elaborate below. Just right. Okay, so just right OCD and sitting with that anxiety. That makes sense to me. yeah, let me know a little bit about the treatment you were doing, and I may be able to give you some insight, perhaps, and some everyone else, because I will tell you that um, it can be very common to be refused treatment after a certain amount of time or not make progress, and there's a variety of reasons why that may happen. And that's if you are getting the proper treatment to begin with. So I'd love to talk further, Caitlin, if you're comfortable. If not, I always give up my email. I think I'm behind because I've been traveling for 10 days, but we can email and discuss it too. Ethan is our super sidekick. I don't want to be a sidekick. Katie may be a sidekick. I mean, I love the power wifey for life, but sidekick, I don't know. We have to talk about that, Katie. All Eyes on P, 7:12 p.m. Hello, thanks for hosting this live. Ethan, do you know of any resources or advocacy groups or even therapy groups in the Tulsa, OKC area? Offhand, I don't. You can actually filter. I think you can look for support groups as well on the IOCDF resource directory. I'm trying to think where Oklahoma. I know where Oklahoma is, and what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to think what affiliate that is, or if there's an affiliate in that area. But you can go to the IOCDF resource directory page. You can also look up affiliates and support. Also, keep in mind, advocacy groups or therapy groups. You don't necessarily need to be in Tulsa or Oklahoma. Yes, ideally licensed, and we can try to find you some therapy groups that are there. And you can also email the IOCDF, and they can help direct you. They would know probably more specifically than I would. We'll give out that email at the end also. But in terms of support groups, especially peer-led support groups, you can access those over Zoom anywhere in the country. And we can definitely give you some resources for those. And then as far as therapy groups, as long as those people, the individuals and the clinicians are licensed in Oklahoma, you can participate in them. So, a few of the silver linings of COVID is that virtual, so much is now accessible virtually and over Zoom and online. So offhand, no, but there's lots of resources to point you towards. So we will get you toward those resources, all eyes, and try to connect you. And again, I'll also give out my email. So and do some research for you to see. But the IOCDF will have the quickest answer. I'm sorry for my rambling today. I ramble when I'm tired, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm tired, but happy to be with you all. Oh, awesome! Thank you, Skyla. Skyla just put a link to the support groups page in the chat. So hopefully that will help direct you, and we can go from there. Yes, Callie is our power animal and fierce yet adorable. That's a good way to describe her. Eric Broach, so nice to meet you at the conference, finally live and in person, our trivia king from Houston, Texas. So Grace, yeah, I live in Michigan. I'm sort of sad that the conference seems to always be on the West Coast. I know, well, to be, it was Seattle and then New York for the first, so we tend to go east, middle, west, and then back to east again. So I should know where it is after San Francisco, but I don't. I don't know, Skyla, if you know. They don't typically announce it till the year of, but see if I can get some secrets out of Skyla. That'd be fantastic. We are in Taiwan, but would love to attend a conference in beautiful Korea, one of my favorite places to visit. And Sam wrote that at 7:14. That would be amazing. I would love to do. Ideally, we start doing conferences all over the world, and that's honestly where the virtual conferences come in really handy. Obviously, just accessibility to information that's easy and simple. But we have big goals. We're big dreamers at the IOCDF. I don't work at the IOCDF. I'm just an advocate and a volunteer at heart, but they're amazing, and we're all big dreamers and would love to have as many conferences as we possibly could all around the world. So that is always the goal. So I love that. They're having it in Chris Weston knows more than I do. They're having it in Orlando in 2 years. Well, there you go. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Grace wrote, "Can I be in the family? I'll be the table," or something like that. Grace, you already are in the family. Caitlin wrote, "ERP therapy is extremely expensive out of pocket." Let me just scroll down, Caitlin, to see if that was an answer to my question asking you what kind of therapy. I don't see any more comments from you. So I think that was it. I highlight your questions and then they disappear, which isn't helpful. The system is all glitchy tonight, so that makes me unhappy. Give me half a second to refine my place. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. Where is it? Eric. Where are you, Kate? Okay, ERP. I'm going to assume, yes, ERP is expensive. And so I'm guessing by that comment that you're not in ERP therapy. So it is extremely expensive out of pocket. There are a couple of things we can do, right? The first thing is, I don't know if your insurance has out-of-network coverage. You can request that the clinician provide you with a super bill, which you can then submit to your insurance company. And if they do cover any out-of-network, they may cover up to a certain amount or even almost the whole thing, just depending. The other thing we can do is really try to advocate for ourselves for sliding scales. There are a lot of therapists that will take sliding scales. No CD is another option. No CD is you can visit them on the Apple Store or Google Play. You can also go to treatmyocd.com. They are a virtual teletherapy service. And they're in all 50 states, and they have deals with most of the insurance companies. I think 1 or 2 out of every 3 participants will qualify for their therapy under their own insurance. So it's not a guarantee, but you have a pretty good chance. I don't know, Caitlin, if you tried NoCD, and then we can continue to talk about potential options and strategies. But yeah, I mean, that's why we advocate, right? And we had a lot of conversation around this at the conference. Not only advocates, but clinicians. We have to show the insurance companies that this disorder is a major problem. And I think NoCD has done a really amazing job at that, as they've made a lot of deals with insurance companies. But it's really important to show them that this is a debilitating mental illness that affects, they say 2 to 3% of the population, but we know that it's more. We know that it's underdiagnosed. We know that it's one of the top 10 reasons people go on disability. So it's important and paramount that the insurance companies start to reimburse OCD experts, OCD clinicians, and therapists for their worth, their value, and what they need to get paid. And I will tell you, most are reasonable in the sense that the insurance should cover them. Doctors are expensive. I go to a doctor that's $200. If I paid out of pocket, it's $250 for a session or for a appointment. I don't know why insurance can't reimburse therapists that treat OCD in the same way. So we're beating the door down, and we're trying to make treatment as accessible and affordable and as effective as possible for everyone. And we are making progress. I hate to hear that therapy is expensive, and it shouldn't be. My story or anybody's story where they got better shouldn't be an exception. It should be the norm, and treatment should be accessible to everyone. So, but there are things that we can do. There are ways to advocate for yourself. I know it's the last thing you feel like doing because you already don't feel good, but there are things we can do. So. Beth Carducci wrote, "How is it possible that you are not letting?" Oh, thank you for putting that. Oh, you rock. Okay. Thank you, because I couldn't read the whole thing. How is it possible that you are not letting your health OCD keep you from going out and living your life? I have asked you this question, but I cannot recall your answer other than life is a risk. Also dealing with uncertainty day by day. It's interesting that you asked that, Beth, because I know that COVID is part of that, but I've also talked about, sorry, I got a text. I've talked about my own sort of somatic symptoms that have been causing me a lot of health anxiety and concerns, and about going out, whether it was my tongue or last time I talked about my heart and going to the ER. And, I will tell you, it's not comfortable. I was very nervous about going to Colorado because I've been having these PVCs in my heart. What was altitude going to do? I knew I'd be out of breath because I'm not used to that altitude. It makes your heart race faster. Was it going to affect me? What if I had a heart attack? I mean, all the what ifs were going through my brain. And so Katie and I went up into the mountains for 5 days before the conference just to take a little vacation. And I had a lot of health anxiety around it. I was nervous to fly for the first time in a long time because I didn't know how it was going to impact. What if I felt the feelings on the plane and I freaked out? I had all the thoughts that we typically have. And I will tell you, A, that it doesn't feel good, B, that I had anxiety, and C, I did it anyway. And I think that we have to let go of this idea that we need to feel perfect in order to do things. I'm not perfect at that, by the way, just so we're clear. There are times where I don't do something, but I would say the majority of the time I do move forward. And we really have to let go of the idea of feeling good. What does it mean to feel good? What does it mean to feel perfect? What does it mean to wait for that right moment where I'm not nervous or worried anymore? And we have to cry and wash the dishes, Beth, right? So I was willing to go out and take a risk and be uncomfortable. I knew that the level of risk was faulty in the sense that I figured my OCD was making it more risky than it actually was. And so while I didn't have certainty around a number of things, I was certain that I had OCD. And so that made me in turn certain to take a shot and a chance. I'm not saying every day was perfect out there. There's a couple of days on vacation where I got kind of freaked out around my heart. And I dealt with it, right? Doesn't mean that I didn't obsess or compulse. But I was trying to do the best I could to be present and be in the moment. And I would say, the 10 days I was gone, maybe 2 or 3 were difficult, but overall I had a blast. I had a great time. I was present. I was in the moment. And I'm grateful I did it. So I think for all of us, yes, life is a risk. It's just as risky to cross the street, right? You get hit by a car. But we choose to do it because our values are on the other side of that street. So we have to go somewhere, we do it anyway. So, it sounds like just dealing with the uncertainty day to day is super simple, and it's obviously not. I always say it with the utmost humility, Beth. But I think we really, really have to let go of what feelings mean to us, and how we define our feelings and anxiety around things. And if we have some certainty that we're dealing with OCD, and still feel ick, then that's enough information to go, you know what, I'm gonna do it anyway. And if I feel like crap on my trip and at the conference, then I feel like crap wow, then I feel like crap on the trip and in the conference, right? And just try to be as present as possible. So ways to do this. I come back to, what are we losing? What are you losing by choosing to not go out and live your life? Are you losing connection? Are you losing friendship? Are you losing money? Are you losing good food? Are you losing sunlight? I go out and I still look this pale, so clearly that's not an issue. And so from someone that was completely housebound, for a year and struggled to just get out of bed, let alone go out, I totally understand and relate to how hard it can feel to go out and do something, let alone get out of bed sometimes. And I'm not saying it's even easy every day now, but I think we have to really think about, what life do you want to live for yourself? What's the life that you want, and how do you get it? And, really it's pretty black and white. You have a choice. You can either get out of bed and do something, or you don't. And I don't mean to sound harsh or cruel or insensitive, but that's really what it comes down to, right? And so how do you do that? Well, there's lots of skills and tools to utilize. Those skills and tools may not make you feel good, and they may not make you, it's not like taking an Advil and getting rid of a headache and I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to start the day. It may just be enough to get you outside or get you doing something or going for a walk, and then you still may feel shitty afterwards, but at least you did that thing. The approach is systematic, baby steps. I always say that if you've been in bed, make a goal to get out of bed for 10 minutes. If you've been out of bed for 10 minutes, make a goal to take a shower. If you've been getting out of bed and showering and that's it, maybe add brushing teeth, brushing hair, and getting dressed to the list, and do that for a week. You can't stigmatize yourself around small goals. Small goals are big goals for us. Small victories are big victories. So, and ultimately they all compound into the largest victory, which is not only functioning, but living a meaningful and full life. So I think that's a very big part of it, is to take an approach. Don't stigmatize yourself. Don't try to compare yourself to other people. Just because they do something easily doesn't mean that you're less than. And be willing to be uncomfortable while you do it. And that's it. I'm not successful at all the time. I'm successful at it most of the time. And I had a great 10 days, and it doesn't mean I was comfortable all the time. By no means was I. It doesn't mean that I didn't have obsessive thoughts. Doesn't mean that I didn't have a compulsion or 2 or even 5. What it does mean is I can look back at the last week and go, I engaged. Went to the conference, made a difference, talked to lots of people. Yes, I was scared about getting COVID. I'm still scared I may come down with COVID. But it was worth it. And I'm not looking back. So I'm grateful for the choices that I made, and hopefully I'll continue to make good choices along the way. So we could talk more about it, Beth, in detail if you like. Lots of heroes in the family. Anybody here can be part of our family. How do you deal with chronic fatigue? Can you put up 7:17 p.m., Skyla? For some reason, it's cutting off and I can't see. All I see is chronic fatigue. Oh, how do you deal with chronic fatigue due to OCD? Okay, so OCD obviously can be like crazy exhausting. The obsessions, the compulsions, it is not uncommon to be exhausted. And also, it can cause significant insomnia, anxiety at night. So, not only is the OCD exhausting, but a lot of times you don't sleep on top of that. There's definitely some skills and tools we can look at. And it's important to have a healthy sleep hygiene. So what does that mean? Well, that means that are you getting enough sleep? Can you fall asleep? When are you trying to sleep? So I know the OCD in and of itself can be exhausting throughout the day, but the first question is, what are we doing for sleep? To be able to have enough energy to not only engage treatment, ideally, right? Because otherwise, if you're exhausted, I think there's going to be elements of you're just going to be exhausted and we have to push through it. But, sleeping comes down to a number of things. And so you can look for specific tools and skills. So are you meditating before bed? Are you not using electronics? Are you keeping your room cool and dark, and not going in there during the day? So for instance, if you sleep during the day or nap during the day or try to check out during the day and it's in your bed, it makes it a lot harder to sleep at night. So your bedroom must become like the cool, dark, sleepy room that you don't go into unless you're changing clothes, or you're having an intimate moment with somebody. Making sure to turn off the TV 30 minutes before, read a book, do something boring. Also, do you have music that relaxes you? Like also relaxing techniques. So meditation, relaxing music, weighted blankets. What are some routines that you can get into to help you add sleep to your day? Ideally, you don't want to nap during the day. The more you nap during the day, the more you get in the cycle of not sleeping at night, and it just goes on and on and on and on. With all of that being said, you can do all of those things and still have insomnia and still not sleep well. And the chronic fatigue, the exhaustion that comes with dealing with OCD, and the exhaustion that goes with compulsing, and the exhaustion that can come with ERP is real. And it's a great question, because beyond just trying to take care of yourself where you can, hot showers, cold showers, try to eat healthy, get as much as support as you can, try to keep to a sleep schedule, build out a routine, and ultimately just push through the fatigue. What happens is when you do push through the fatigue, especially, and really embrace, if you're in a treatment setting, and really embrace the treatment, as the treatment kicks in, you'll have more opportunities to sleep. The OCD will hopefully lessen, and you'll be able to catch back up and get more energy. So, if you continue white knuckling, this idea of not, just kind of gritting your teeth and bearing through the OCD, the obsessions and the compulsions, and even the exposure response preventions, that will wear you out the most by far if you're in treatment. If you're not in treatment and you're just struggling through compulsions, it's exhausting. But if you're in treatment and you're white knuckling, that will also exhaust you. So this idea of continuing to embrace uncertainty, let feelings and emotions wash over you, sit with the discomfort, sit with the thoughts, sit with the feelings, in an effort to, embrace the uncertainty and the discomfort, your anxiety will eventually go down. And also, the more you do that, the less you sleep during the day, you better you'll sleep at night, because you will be exhausted. But as you do these systematic things over time, everything will slowly start to get better, and therefore you'll be able to sleep longer chunks of time. It's the same with depression. You can be chronically tired due to depression as a secondary diagnosis because of the OCD. And as you slowly and systematically address the OCD, the depression will lessen, because you'll be feeling better from the OCD, and in turn, the depression will lighten a little bit. The last piece is just, try to look at fatigue as a feeling. Obviously, if you're exhausted and you can't move your body, then that's one thing. But you can also feel like shit, but still do things. And so, kind of gauge where your threshold is for that. But implementing some of those skills and tools are really helpful. So, and I definitely struggle with I struggle with fatigue and exhaustion, and depression when I was really struggling, and it's definitely not easy. In fact, before I went to a psychiatric hospital, I was so anxious at night. I probably went 3 or 4 months without sleeping, like to the point where I was hallucinating just because I had so little sleep. And when I went into the psychiatric hospital, even though they didn't treat OCD, the first thing they said was, "We have to get you to sleep." And then they knocked me out with a bunch of medications. I don't know if that was helpful, but so I totally understand, and it's not fun, but it is manageable. So Sarah, great question. Thank you so much. Chris wrote, "Where to start with acceptance of having OCD?" I don't know if there's any. Oh, okay. Where to start with acceptance of Thank you, Chris. Great question. If I understand it correctly, I think getting a diagnosis of OCD can be very freeing because maybe you didn't know what was going on. Maybe you felt very alone in your thoughts and feelings, and you thought you're the only one. And I think the first piece of that is you're not the only one. There are thousands, if not millions, of us out there dealing with the same thing. I always say the individual is special, the OCD is not. Your OCD is not unique, no matter how unique you think it is. You are, however, unique and special, and that's what's important. So this idea of getting a diagnosis of OCD should, number one, be a little relieving. But then you have the stigma of like, oh my gosh, I have a mental disease. What does that mean? A mental illness? Well, it's kind of like, the acceptance you would have to deal with if you were diagnosed with another disease that wasn't mental illness, cancer, MS, diabetes. It can be scary, but the amazing thing about OCD is it's extremely treatable and successfully treatable. So with a diagnosis comes hope. The hope that you can engage in treatment and get better. I also, and we've talked about this before, I wouldn't get stuck on the diagnostic terms, right? Diagnostic terms, regardless of what you have, are great for identifying what treatment you need to get better. But beyond that, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't define who you are. So at a certain point, we can get really bogged down. Eric and I had a great conversation on our last live stream, our last few live streams and emails about, I keep getting diagnosed with things. I have a multiple diagnosis. I have OCD, I have bipolar, I have PTSD, and I was most recently diagnosed with somatic symptom disorder, which is the tongue and catastrophizing actual things that are happening to me. So when I feel something funny in my heart, I immediately go, oh shit, I'm going to die. Everything is blocked and a heart attack is coming, versus like, oh, that feels weird. Probably nothing. What do those 4 things mean to me? Nothing. And I'll tell you, and what I mean by that is my goal hasn't changed. I want to live a functional, meaningful life that I can feel things like joy, sadness, beauty, and happiness, passion, empathy, pain. I want to feel it all. And so if I want to live a full life, then it really doesn't matter what my diagnoses are. What matters is how do I get to that full life? And for me, it's a combination of medication and treatment. And so, you can throw out even more diagnoses at me in terms of mental illness we're talking about. And, it doesn't mean a whole lot. I know that it gives me a direction for treatment. OCD did. After 17 years, PTSD did. Bipolar was a more pharmacological based treatment along with some behavioral changes. The somatic thing is more in line with OCD and its exposures and just sitting with discomfort. The last thing I want to tell you, and this is maybe the most important thing, Chris, is you're not your OCD. It's so simple, especially when you've been living with OCD for so long, it's your identity. It's very easy to make it your identity, to make it who you are, and to not know how to separate yourself from the illness. Just depending on how long you live with it, how long it's come on. Maybe you feel like you're now this person that you weren't before, or in my case, I was born with it, so I don't remember anything else. But we have to understand, and everybody needs to hear me, that you are not your OCD. It is a disorder in your brain. And so it is in your brain, and it is a glitch in the system, in the amygdala. And that doesn't mean that's who you are, right? So just like somebody would say, I have cancer, but I'm not cancer. Cancer is not who they are. It doesn't re-identify them. Same with any other disorder. physical disorder. Mental disorders are the same way, especially OCD. So you have a disease. That disease is treatable. It may not be curable. And we've had the cure versus chronic conversation a lot, and what it means to be in management and maintenance, which is freaking awesome. But and Chris, I also want you to know that me saying all of this is not invalidating any feelings that anybody has around a new diagnosis, and that it may feel upsetting or painful or relief. People feel different things, and your feelings are 100% valid. I'm not judging your feelings, nor should you feel any way but the way you feel. But in terms of acceptance, I think those are all really good places to start. And I think in doing that, and also just finding community. I mean, the conference was amazing because we make lifelong friends there. And, while I wouldn't necessarily, want OCD, I don't know that I'd take anything back. I've met amazing people. I get to meet all of you. I get to do this every week. It's created a beautiful life for me. And it's making the best out of the circumstances and the hand that I was dealt. And so I think all of that points us toward this embracing and acceptance. And if you want to be super real about it, what other choice do you have? Acceptance is the way forward. But the way forward can be really beautiful and really fulfilling. And so hopefully those are some insights, Chris, that will help you move forward. I look forward to talking well. And you live in Houston as well. And I was born in Houston. Houston is being represented. I'm ignoring Katie and the whole power wifey conversation. Please don't make me sleep on the couch. Yes, Nikki, Katie and I are coming to Ireland, and it's just going to happen soon. Stacy Conroy in the house. The conference did rock. I hung out with Stacy quite a bit, and she's a trip and awesome. And I have lots of love for her. Hey, OCD and anxiety. Nathan's in the house. Great to see you, Ethan. Eric wrote, I did enjoy that. There are more people with similar experiences than I expected. And that's the other thing. It's a great point. 7:20 p.m. Was the comment, Skyla, from Eric B. You'd be amazed at how many people share your experiences and the connections you can make, no matter how crazy or weird your own OCD symptoms or thoughts may be. I will tell you, you have all the subtypes of symptoms and categories and things like that. And, all of mine fall under, self-harm. But in the 12 years that I've been advocating, while I've met people that have danced around my prominent symptom when I was at my worst, which was the fear of hitting my head and having a brain bleed, which has pretty much gone away completely, that fear. I recently got emailed and was connected with an individual. And when I tell you her experiences is mine, every single thing, from the thing that triggered the OCD thought to everything that she's doing, and all her compulsions are exactly like mine. Also, all her obsessive thoughts are exactly like mine. All the things the family is doing to accommodate her, exactly like mine. It was mind blowing, and honestly, it was super triggering. And if you're on there, don't feel bad about. If you're on here, don't feel bad about that. It was the best conversation. But just when you think, right? I mean, to hear the level of detail and the fact that this person literally is doing, and their family is doing everything that I did and everything that my family did. And that's where I love to further hit home the fact that the OCD isn't unique. And we have to remember that our OCD is not special. And that's if somebody told me that when I was struggling, I'd be like, screw you. You don't know what I'm going through. Like, I'm not getting better in treatment right now. My OCD is different. I can't tell you how much that is a barrier to treatment. The more we think our own OCD is unique and special, the harder it is to get treated because you don't buy into it. You have to understand that your disorder is OCD. Okay? The content matters in terms of creating a behavioral plan. But at the end of the day, the content is OCD. The content is content. It's a tornado. It's a tornado. And whether it sucks in a cow or a farmhouse, it's all a tornado. That's why you hear all these individuals, and I'm sure you've experienced it too, where your themes shift and morph, as mine have throughout my life. Multiple themes, multiple subtypes. Which is why at the end of the day, the content in terms of treatment doesn't matter. And we have to work really hard to stop seeing our OCD as something unique and special and different than everybody else. I say this coming from a place where I did it. I was at a residential program watching people touch garbage cans and not wash their hands and do all these outward compulsions. And I'm sitting here deathly afraid my brain is bleeding. And what if I hit it? And I couldn't relate to anyone. And I was sitting there going, I'm special. My OCD is special. It is impossible to be treated. No one here is like me. And I can't tell you looking back how much time that cost me. As opposed to, and I don't know whether I was capable of listening to, therapists telling me that my OCD was the same, but I want you to hear me that it's the same. It's all the same. You're special. Your OCD is not. Take that to heart, because as you engage in treatment, you engage in therapy, whatever that therapy is, modality of treatment, exposure-based, acceptance commitment therapy, ERP, DBT, any of the modalities of treatment. Go into it with an open mind. Go into it hearing my voice, as annoyingly nasally as it is, saying your OCD is just like everyone else's OCD. And my gosh, the irony is that once we put the OCD to bed, what emerges is unique, is special, is different. It's you. It's you. Right? So what we think is special and unique and makes us different is the thing that's keeping you from being unique and special and different. So, OCD is all about irony and juxtaposition and paradigm shifts and all these, like the thing about, I always say about, we don't have certainty in anything. I will tell you what we do have certainty in. Do compulsions, your OCD will get worse. I am certain of that. Don't compulse, engage in treatment, you have a chance of getting better. I am certain of that. So in an illness where you're supposed to embrace uncertainty, isn't it interesting that the one certainty we have is compulse and you'll continue to stay sick? I'm glad everybody's talking amongst themselves. Jessica Ivy at 7:21 p.m. Oh, I'm way behind on questions. I'm so sorry. At 7:21 p.m., it's cut off for me, Skyla. I feel social media is glorifying mental illness to our younger generation, including OCD. I'm all for more conversation. However, I don't feel our youth is getting good info in this way. Thoughts? It's a great statement, and I'm on the fence. I think I don't think it's all an all or nothing statement. In the sense that I'm very aware of the various social media accounts that are. Oh, I see what you're saying. I misunderstood what you're saying. Yes, overall, social media is terrible for mental illness, especially kids. It's the reason, suicidality is up, eating disorders are up, just the level of comparison and the accessibility. Before, remember magazines, models in magazines. Oh, we're showing, women that are too thin. We're giving a bad example of what, our daughters should look like, our children should look like, well, now we've got it 24/7 from friends and families and filters and, things that aren't even real. So I think, I don't know that it's glorifying mental illness so much as it's perpetuating mental illness. I feel like glorifying mental illness, would be more about, saying it's cool to have this or it's cool to have that. Now, I will say in regards to OCD, that's oftentimes the case. Media, not just social media, the media in general makes OCD seem like a cool, quirky thing to have. It makes you better at what you do. Khloe Kardashian having close CD, where OCD makes me a better organizer. Or, Monk, a detective show about someone who has OCD and they're better for it because of their OCD. I think there's a lot of glorifying of mental illness to a certain extent in all media, not just social. With that being said, I also think that social media has created a really amazing free resource for individuals to seek out accounts that are very healthy around mental illness and OCD specifically. There's some amazing Instagram accounts that focus solely on OCD and mental health and anxiety that offer, daily mantras and insights and thoughts and comments, and they've become really potent communities where people can join and talk to and relate to and really get insights throughout their day, that it really changes lives. And I think that is important. It's the yin and the yang, I guess, right? for all the good it does, there's also bad. And I think that's true within everything. I don't necessarily know what the answer is in terms of, other than continuing to educate and reduce stigma and help people understand that, mental illness should not be glorified. And we need to stop putting pressure on our kids to look or feel or act or be a certain way. And hopefully we're making tiny steps and dents in that. So I totally agree with you. I also think there's some good out of it. It also allows people to advocate. And that's a huge thing, especially for individuals that want to advocate but aren't necessarily willing to disclose who they are yet. I know lots of accounts that are anonymous, but they're able to advocate around OCD. And so it's an amazing platform. I mean, if we talk about social media, in the beginnings of social media, Facebook, MySpace, classmates, all of those things, it was all about connection at the beginning, seeing pictures of friends and family. And that was awesome, and then it's evolved into this giant organism of like, we know what you're thinking and we know where you've been, and here's some shoes that you just thought of. And it's all kind of terrifyingly scary. But I think yes, and we'll see how it continues to grow. I think that to some extent, Instagram, Meta, Facebook has taken some measures to help protect teens. Is there enough? No. But I definitely think the spotlight is on them in terms of how they respond and how responsible they should be. But overall, yeah, I agree to a certain extent, Jessica, and that's a great comment. Thank you. I know we're closing in on 8, but we started about a few minutes too late. So if Skyla's okay with that, I'd like to maybe press on to 8:05 if that's okay. And Skyla's going to respond. Would it be weird if Skyla wrote back, no, I'm out at 8. Screw you. And you're welcome to do it, Skyla. You're totally welcome. I will not let anyone know. We'll just speed up and go. I know you would never. All right, let me scroll. Let's see here. I kind of lost my place as I was speaking nonsense. Let's see here. Okay, we're back. Great comments from Eric. Felice wrote, no city probably covers OKC. Well, they definitely cover all 50 states, whether your insurance is covered, but you stand a better chance of being insured through them than probably anyone else. But we can also try to find therapists that do take insurance, or at least have sliding scales and things like that. Let's see here. Yep, everybody knows that okay, well, good to know. The conference is in Orlando. So after San Francisco, we jump to the East Coast. Thank you, Skyla, for putting all the links. Oh, Seattle. Wow. Okay. We got lots of things going on. Skyla put the conference schedule through 2027. So color me not knowing anything. I'm the last to know, but I'm totally okay with that. Also, Katie put a link at 727 on Facebook for virtual treatment internationally. This is a great resource. BeyondBordersCBT.com. And they are a great resource. Let's scroll down here and see what question marks I can seek out. Great comments. I know we only have a few minutes. And see if there are any other great conversation. I mean, I don't even need to be here really. I just need to Unfortunately, Angela, none of the conversations are available to watch from the conference. The keynote is recorded, and I think they posted at some point, and it was a really great keynote. But the virtual conference will be online. Those are all recorded and available after the fact as well. Hopefully, one day we can make the live conference accessible on and stream as well. Right now, it's just so many panels at so many times. It would be a giant effort to do it, which is why we've incorporated the virtual conferences in. So thank you, Angela. Let's see here. OCD Crusher in the house. What's up, Dave? Good to see you. It was awesome meeting you. Let's see here. Oh, Grace talks about the OCD Stories podcast with Dr. Moritz, who was my therapist that helped save my life. And I don't know, Grace, if you got a chance to meet her at the conference. She's fantastic. Here we go. Lynn O'Connell, 7:44 p.m. Can health anxiety OCD be avoidance of doctors turning off the TV when illness-related themes are on and avoiding all books and magazines that discuss health? Could the avoidance be the compulsion, or does it sound like health anxiety without OCD? Great question. Not a clinician, which means I'm, not an expert, but I can tell you that avoidance is 100% a compulsion. Absolutely. Now, the question becomes is, if you're avoiding I guess, are you avoiding doctors because you're afraid of the anxiety it's going to give you? That may be just an anxiety disorder, right? Health anxiety. But, health anxiety and as regards to OCD is if I go to a doctor, if I watch it on TV, if I read it in a book or a magazine, or I read further, what, right? Is something going to happen? Are you just not going to feel good? It's going to cause anxiety. Are you afraid of that anxiety and therefore avoiding that anxiety? So I can't quite suss out for you, whether that's health anxiety, in like general health anxiety or health anxiety around OCD, but 100% avoidance is a compulsion. And just as much as many people with health anxiety seek out doctors and tests and all of those things and Google and want to watch everything, it's the opposite, right? You can avoid, you can ignore, you can try to avoid everything. And that would be exactly the same as, not wanting to be around somebody that you're afraid you're going to harm. So you avoid them at all costs, not being afraid to be around kids out of fear that you may inappropriately touch. So yes, maybe a clinician would really have to do a diagnostic and an intake to know for sure, but avoidance is a compulsion. So it very, very well could be OCD depending on your reason for avoidance. We'll answer one more question. Mackenzie wrote at 7:44 p.m. I'll wait till Skyla posts that. Thank you. How to deal with depression that results after OCD has become more manageable. There's an emptiness where compulsions once were, and it can be difficult knowing who you are when OCD was all consuming in such a way. Oh my gosh, this is it. Oh, hi, Mackenzie. How are you? This is such a great question. All right, we may go to 807. I love this question so much, and this is something that we're starting to talk about a lot. There's whether you want to call it trauma or trauma or depression, whatever you want to call it, there is definitely an emptiness that exists after OCD is gone. For many of us, OCD has been our default best friend. It's a friend that we hate. It's a friend that we don't want, but it can also be scary to get rid of them. There's a secondary gain, what's called a secondary gain to OCD. Secondary gain is this idea of what do you get by having it? Can you not fail in anything? Because if you make a mistake or fail, it's your OCD, so you don't have to blame yourself. Do you not have to try because of your OCD? Do you get to get out of something or say no, or people just understand that you're not going to be there? Is the pressure off because of your OCD? It is so common to feel emptiness when you become in a place of management and maintenance. This sense of identity is gone, where compulsions once were. And you can definitely feel like you're thrown into this life that you don't recognize. I know I felt that way. I always describe it as like this limo pulls up on the curb of a house and pushes me out into the yard and skids away. Like the mafia drops you off after deciding not to kill you. And you're looking around going, where am I? What is this life? What do I do? It's a process. It takes time to either rediscover who you are or discover who you are. And I know it can feel a weird sense of emptiness and aloneness. Routine helps a lot with that. Even if there's depression in it, behavioral activation, opposite action, this idea of continuing to move forward, even if you feel crappy, even if you feel depressed, expect the depression, expect the emptiness, in the sense that don't let it surprise you that you feel that way just because you have OCD managed or under control. That's so common, and it needs to be talked about so much more. I think there were a couple of talks on it. I know I've had talks on it in the past with my own therapist at the conference about, OCD is under control. What now? What now? It becomes easier and your life starts to fill in. What happens is you continue to move forward, even if you don't necessarily feel like it. As I described earlier, you begin to flourish, right? I always kind of perceived OCD as a snow. It's like snow covers. I like snow, but in this case, not so much. Snow covers the grass and the flowers, right? And just, you don't see it. And then as springtime comes, snow melts and these beautiful flowers and grass starts peeking through until, and I feel like that's what happens with us. We're covered in snow with OCD. As we get better, it's like the OCD slowly thawing. We start to peek out, and little hints of ourselves start to come out. We have to build on those hints and pieces of ourselves. And as we do that, we slowly fill in those gaps where compulsions were with value-driven things, whether they're relationships, activities, jobs, things that we're passionate about. So, we are very all or nothing, want it now, instant gratification. That is who we are in black and white. Just as it took work to, get OCD under control, it takes work to get back to where you were, maybe where you have never been. And I know that can sound kind of disappointing, but it's actually amazing. It's an opportunity to create your life from a healthier place. And that's what's amazing about these skills and tools. You cannot have OCD and learn them, and they're phenomenal. They're just phenomenal skills and tools for living life. Acceptance commitment therapy is amazing. Dialectical behavioral therapy is amazing. Even aspects of exposure response prevention, living with uncertainty. What an amazing skill. So, Mackenzie, you're not alone in that. And I would say patience along with routine, present-mindedness, continuing to work with a therapist, even if it's not ERP. I've seen my therapist every week for 11 years. We very rarely talk about OCD. She helps me navigate life. She helps me navigate questions about relationships and loneliness and emptiness and all those things. So it's such a great point to raise. I would love to talk with you more about this, Mackenzie, and maybe I think we should do a town hall on this subject, actually, because I think it's really important conversation to have, continued important conversation to have. But hopefully that gave you some pieces and some hope. Just keep moving forward, keep getting out of bed, keep doing it despite how you feel. I promise that the actions will bring the body and the mind will follow. The actions will lead to an emotional shift to where the depression will start to lessen, and you'll start filling in the emptiness with really important value-driven things, and you'll create those routines that you want. It's just the patience part that we typically suck at, but we get better at it. All right, 8:08 p.m. I know I'm so sorry I didn't get to everyone's questions. I apologize. I will give you my email, so hang tight. I will give you my email at the end. If you had questions that I didn't get to, please don't hesitate to reach out and email me, and I'll answer them. Hey, Lovelana, good to see you. So quickly, just some quick housekeeping. First of all, of course, thank you to the IOCDF and Skyla behind the scenes for being awesome. Tomorrow, you can join Dr. John Abramowitz and Kyle King for this month's Research Roundtable at 12 p.m. They'll be joined by Dr. Frederick Ardema and Dr. Kevin Wong to discuss the topic of inference-based CBT for OCD. So you can submit questions ahead of time on IOCDF social media at IOCDF or online at iocdf.org/peace of mind. Yep, perfect. You can also go to IOCDF. I'm going to speed things up here. You can go to IOCDF Peace of Mind, see all our virtual programming for the month, schedules, times, topics, all the good stuff. Next Tuesday, we have a special town hall with all of our national lead advocates. So myself, Liz McInvale, Katie, my fiance, Chris, Tom, and Val. We'll be doing a town hall stream recapping the 27th annual OCD conference. So if you're really having the done deal blues, we did a live panel. We're going to do a post panel on this. So please join us next Tuesday for an hour and a half discussion on the conference. Bring your questions. We'll all be there and excited to see you. To be notified of when we're going live, you can follow the IOCDF on social media and subscribe on YouTube. And if you need resources, as always, please visit the iocdf.org. Lastly, please don't hesitate to email me if there are questions I didn't get to, or you just have thoughts, suggestions, things you love, things you hate. I wore a crappy shirt today. I'll own that. Email me at justethan@iocdf.org. I'm the only one that checks this email. No one else sees it. It is private. It is confidential. And so please feel free to email me there. I will tell you that I'm behind on my emails. I'm probably 2 weeks behind on my emails, but I will get to you. So please email me. With all of that, thank you for being an amazing group. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for lifting each other up. Thank you for the advocacy that you do within the chat. And as always, I'll thank Skyla again because she's just generally an awesome person. With all of that, I will be back 2 weeks from tonight. Tomorrow's Research Roundtable. Next Tuesday, Town Hall with all of us. So continue to tune in, and we will continue to support one another. So with all of that, have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay vigilant, feel the feels. Don't let OCD off the hook. And we'll see you next time. Have a beautiful evening. Good night.